It is 6 a.m. in Washington. It's 1 p.m. in Bucharest. I'm Monita Rajpal. This is World One, live from London. They will pay the price. Hillary Clinton has delivered a stinging rebuke to two of President Bashar al-Assad's last allies, Russia and China. The U.S. Secretary of State has been speaking at the Friends of Syria conference in Paris. She urged both countries to stop aiding the Syrian government's war effort.
This is a regime with a massive war machine.
CNN's World Affairs reporter Elise Labott is at the conference in Paris, and she joins us now down the line. Elise, very strong words there from the U.S. Secretary of State to Russia and China.
Really, Monita, a stinging rebuke along the lines of which we've really rarely seen before.
Elise Labott there in Paris. Well, this morning it was Turkey's turn to mourn its victims of the Syrian conflict. The two pilots of the jet shot down by the Syrian military are being laid to rest. They were given a state funeral in Malatya. Joins us now live. And Ivan, before we get to that, I want to ask you about this news that has just been confirmed now, and the defection of a Syrian general. How bad of a blow, or how much of a blow is this to Syria?
Well, he's been described as within the inner circle of the Syrian President Bashar al-Assad.
Ivan, thank you. Ivan Watson in Istanbul. Libya's first big test of democracy. Libyans will vote on Saturday in their first parliamentary elections in decades. It is almost a year since NATO-backed opposition fighters killed leader Muammar Gaddafi, leaving an interim government struggling to maintain law and order. Producer Jumana Karacha is in the Libyan capital, Tripoli. She joins us now live. Jumana, just looking at some of the numbers here that we're talking about to show you just how big that challenge is. We're talking about over 2,000 candidates, close to 3 million registered voters, and over 300, almost 400 party lists. This is a huge challenge for the country.
Absolutely, this is a huge challenge, and the lack of political awareness that...
in the first place is a sign of progress indeed. Jumana, thank you very much. Jumana Karacha there reporting to us live from Tripoli. You are watching World One live from London. Judges in Italy say the captain of the Costa Concordia is now free to leave his house, but he is not allowed to travel outside of his hometown. Francesco Schettino has been under house arrest since January 17th. Well, as for the ship itself, the hull of the Costa Concordia will eventually be refloated and towed away as part of a careful salvage operation. At the same time, former passengers say the cruise line is much less thoughtful when it comes to aiding their personal recoveries. In his third dispatch on the Costa Concordia tragedy, Dan Rivers meets some survivors, and they say they are suffering because of the cruise industry's skillful navigation of legal loopholes.
This is not happening.
Across the world are bracing for the U.S. jobs report, which is due out in just a few hours. Economists expect the monthly numbers to show very modest job growth in the U.S. during June. Well, meanwhile, U.S. President Barack Obama spent Thursday campaigning in what is sometimes called America's Rust Belt, a swath of the country where manufacturing jobs have disappeared over the years. Mr. Obama was all smiles, emphasizing his efforts to restore jobs, and he joins us there live from. So why is the president smiling?
Well, what the president is trying to convey to voters here, and first of all,
the numbers will speak for itself. All right, Dan, thank you so much for that. Dan Lothian there in Akron, Ohio. Well, in 2009, Mr. Obama came to the rescue of two of the so-called big three U.S. automakers, but he doesn't have the auto worker vote in the bag. CNN's Poppy Harlow caught up with some auto workers in Michigan. That's the home of the American auto industry, to find out why.
On the outskirts of Detroit.
I don't see here on World One. The political stakes are high in Romania. In a few hours, the Romanian parliament will vote on a motion that is likely to see President Traian Băsescu suspended from office and could see him impeached. The leftist ruling coalition has accused the president of breaching the constitution and overstepping his authority. Liliana Ciobanu joins us now live from Bucharest. And Liliana, they're both accusing each other of breaching the Constitution and of unlawful acts. So how likely is it that this impeachment is going to go through?
Well, hello, Monita. Let me start by saying that this is part of a
What's interesting is that the European Commission has come out with a statement reportedly saying now the actions appear to reduce the effective powers of independent institutions like the Constitutional Court. So, okay, there's going to be this referendum afterwards, but while all this infighting is taking place, who is actually listening to what Romanians want?
Well, That's a good question because, for example, yesterday more than 2,000
Liliana, thank you very much for that. Liliana Jabana there reporting to us from Bucharest. Now, today in Britain, the hopes of a whole nation rest squarely on the shoulders of one man, Andy Murray. In just a few hours, he'll take on France's Jo-Wilfried Tsonga in the Wimbledon men's semi-finals. Well, of course, papers were all aflutter about all of this. So here in the UK, let's see what the headlines are saying about the matchup. The Independent says, will your man do it if he makes Tsonga do all the running? And it goes on to say, let's face it, Murray has got the best draw. Hold on, though, that does not mean in any way that your guy has one foot in the final. Tsonga has been here in slams before and will not be fazed by what lies ahead out there on centre. Well, the headline in the Daily Telegraph, Lendl priming Murray for the time of his life. Speaking of Murray's coach, the article says if Murray is going to defuse the most explosive player on the tour, he needs to maintain the intensity he produced in his quarterfinal, and this is where he can draw on the experience of his coach and mentor, Ivan Lendl. And finally, in The Guardian, there's this headline, Tsonga the perfect target for home attack. It's a guest editorial written by former tennis pro Greg Rosetsky, and he says Murray's potential has been unfulfilled for too many years, and he now needs to and can take that extra step. And as a Brit, being able to handle the pressure, expectation, and weight of history to get all the way to the final would be an exceptional achievement. Well, as Murray Mania builds, we'll take you live to Wimbledon for a look at the upcoming men's semi-finals. That's coming up after a break. Stay with us here on CNN. Welcome back. Well, there is a blockbuster lineup at the Wimbledon Tennis Championships today as four men battle it out for a chance to lift the trophy. Alex Thomas joins us here with all the details. It's going to be an intense afternoon.
It is, and it's a measure of how fascinating Friday's action at Wimbledon promises to be. That an historic first-time meeting between two greats of the game. It's all about shirt-tugging as well. Certainly not going to end those friendly arguments in the pub.
But that's part of the fun.
Of course.
Of course it is. It's kind of like hockey, right?
Yeah.
All right, Alex, thank you very much for that.
Without the foam fingers.
You gotta have the foam fingers. But anyway, I digress. You are watching World One, live from London. Welcome back. The most destructive wildfire ever in the western U.S. state of Colorado is now at least 90% contained. Tens of thousands of people have had to leave their homes during the height of the fire. And not just people, their pets, too. Gary Tuckman visited a shelter with an impressive array of temporary residents. Yeah, many in the central and eastern parts of the United States have not had a lot to smile about because it has been one of the hottest weeks in U.S. history, while heavy rains are taking their toll on parts of Asia. Meteorologist Karen McGuinness is at the World Weather Center with all the details of that.
Yes, and certainly, Monita, we have had our fair share of heat, not just across the United States, but into North America.
Karen, thank you so much. You're watching World One, live from London. I'm Monita Rajpal. Thank you for joining us. Stay with us here on CNN. Have a great weekend.